Hello out there. Really happy to be with you today for Lunch with Live Animals. My name is Leslie, and Justine's going to be joining us in just minutes. Today, we're going to be sharing some mammals with you. The topic is whiskers and hairs, so it goes together perfectly, doesn't it? Now, my friend Forrest shared some invertebrate hairs with you on last week's episode. Don't worry, you can watch it on our Instagram later. I'll give you the address at the end. Now, it's slightly different than mammal hair, though. It's made of different stuff. Hair is made of keratin, which is a protein, right? So what is it? Why do we have it? You know, we trim it, we shave it, we pluck it, we dye it, we decorate it, we do all sorts of things with our hair on our bodies, but why? You ever thought about that? We have lots of different kinds of hairs, right? And all mammals actually have hair. Various times of their life, even whales. Did you know whales have hair? It's kind of cool. For different purposes. You know, it's obvious what the hair on your head is for. If you live in a warm climate, it's nice to have a summer haircut, isn't it? Because it traps in the heat. If you live in a cold climate, it helps you ventilate that heat, right? So that's what the hair on the head is good for. But I've actually, you know, there's other kinds of hair too. I'm going to share some photos with you here. So, you know, all mammals have it. Like I said, now we adult humans have it all over our bodies, don't we? We've got it on our arms. We've got it around our eyes. Some people have it in their ears and their nose, right? What's it for? Now, the hair under our arms, actually, you might be surprised to know, is there for friction, probably. Prevents chafing. But it also acts as an evaporative cooler. As the sweat trickles down the hair, it helps cool off the body faster. Did you know that? It's kind of interesting. Hair can also be, you know, similar in other mammals. It can help spread scent, similar to what the underarms do. But it can be sensory as well. Now, we've got another picture here. Oh yeah, so hair can also be a defense. Right? It can be a literal defense, like a weapon, like for a porcupine. It's still keratin, though. Okay, it's still made out of the same stuff, the protein. Even in bighorn sheep, there you see they're using them as a defense. And in humans or in other animals, can use their hair to signal. It's like a warning to say, "Hey, stay away from me. I don't want to be bothered." Okay, and in particular, like I said, sensory hairs can be sensory. Now, when you think sensory hairs, you think whiskers. If you ever had a cat or another animal in your life, another mammal in your life, and they had whiskers, those hairs are really important to them. So what is a whisker? Okay, real quick, whisker is a long hair, right? It's got a follicle. Okay, a follicle is sort of like the little cup that a hair grows out of. And it's got blood and nerve endings in there, okay? So the hair, you can feel it. Right? If you touch one single hair on your arm, you can feel it. There are muscles around those hairs. Now, other animals, other mammals, use those muscles differently than us. We don't really use them much, but did you know that goosebumps are actually those muscles? Isn't that fun? So when you tickle your arm and you feel those goosebumps, that's those muscles that other animals use to move their hairs. It's kind of neat. Now, that's kind of where the similarity between hair and whiskers ends, because whiskers are incredibly sophisticated. They have a blood sinus, which is a lot more blood underneath. Very, very sensitive to the slightest touch on the whisker to tell it which way, sends a message to the brain to tell it which way it was being pressed, and that gives a lot of information to that animal. We can pretend, though, right? Anybody out there want to play a little game where you have a little one hair on your arm, find a hair on your body. Maybe it's an eyelash, maybe it's one single eyebrow. If you close your eyes and touch it, you'll still feel it. And in fact, you can do this with, you know, someone at your home. Have them touch that one single hair. It should be a short hair, by the way. The long hairs doesn't work so good. The short hair, have them touch it. And when you close your eyes, if they push it one way or the other, you might even be able to feel which way they're pushing it with your eyes closed. It's kind of fun if you're paying really close attention. But still, hairs, regular hairs, are not quite as good as whiskers are. Now, we're going to be sharing our rats with you today. We actually have two kinds of mammals today. The first mammal is our Norway rats. I'm going to try to share Justine here. She is out there in our nature lab with our gorgeous Norway rats. We have 11 rats living out there in 2 towers and a crossover tube between them. And you see what Justine is doing is feeding them from her hands. Now, this isn't just cute, it's also an important part of their life. We need to get our hands on them every day so we can feel how healthy they are. A healthy coat means a healthy animal a lot of times. We can feel if they're heavy or thin. We keep them used to being a part of our lives so that they're comfortable with us. If they ever needed medicine or if they needed to travel somewhere, they're comfortable with us. In particular, Justine, they like her quite a lot. So you notice that they're using their whiskers, right, to walk up to her. You might not be able to see it quite so well, but they use their whiskers first. They're whiskering Justine's hands to pick up all the information they can in their environment. Those whiskers are pretty incredible, actually. They're extremely important to the rat. They can help them detect the slightest changes in their environment. All right, so they have these little rows of whiskers on their face. Of course, they have some whiskers on their eyebrows and their cheek. They're moving them constantly, though. 7 times a second, they move those whiskers when they're alert. They can move them in different patterns, like a sweep back and forth or a crossover with each other. They can move one whisker independently, hence those muscles that I mentioned that can move the hairs around. Highly sensitive detectors, okay? They're constantly navigating their worlds with their whiskers. You know, as they're nocturnal and they like to live in tunnels where it's dark, sometimes under bushes, right? They're constantly sweeping those whiskers around so that they can feel the rocks, they can feel the branches, they can feel other animals in their environment. Highly, highly sensitive. It gives them a 3D picture better than their eyes can do. In those dark environments, the whiskers give them more information than their eyes. But I'm not done, because those whiskers can detect the slightest breeze to tell them which way to go in their little tunnels. It can help them balance when they're running across high wires. It can help them discriminate different kinds of food. Have I had this before? Today, I think Justine is feeding some scrambled eggs and some vegetables, all things that they've had before and they like. It can help them court another rat to make a new family. It can help them know if they can fit through a small hole. It tells them if their nose is above the surface of water. They can't swim without their whiskers. Isn't that interesting? And they can be self-defense. I mean, did you even know whiskers could do so many things? It's really, really incredible. But I'm also not done, because they can hear with their whiskers. What? Hear with hair? I've never heard of such a thing. Yes, it's pretty cool. Bear with me for a second while I show you what it looks like. See that grid we've got there? That grid is how the whiskers are laid out. And each whisker vibrates at a different frequency. Like the strings of a harp, the short whiskers vibrate at a higher frequency. The long whiskers vibrate at a lower frequency. What do I mean by frequency? It's sort of like the sound carrying a vibration. Fill your throat, young ones out there. You can feel a vibration when you talk, right? Say something in a high voice and say something in a low voice. It sounds different. Those are different frequencies, okay? The rats are hearing as well as touching, which is why they can discriminate even 2 slightly different kinds of sandpaper. They're feeling and hearing at the same time. They even know which frequency goes where. I read a paper where it was like, you know, B2, I guess that's 2 down and 2 over, vibrates at 182 hertz, which is a note between F and F sharp below middle C. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible what we know about rats. So, you know, that explains their extreme whisker touch. It's so important to them that a rat who is blind does better than a rat without whiskers. Interesting, right? They need them to survive. So I'm going to go back. I think Justine is still there. No, she's moved on to our next animal. That's okay, because you're going to have fun with that. But you notice there was no hair on their tails. There's a reason for that. They need, just like you, to ventilate out that heat. okay? So when they get hot, they actually lick that hairless part of their tail. If you touch a rat's tail, it's warm. And they lick that hairless part of the tail, and it helps to cool them off. They also use it for grip. They use it to wrap around branches and to hold on to things, almost like a prehensile tail, okay? So really important. Now I'm going to show you a really cute video that I hope you'll enjoy. This is a video of our rats navigating through their tunnel here. Oops, I hope it's working for you. Mine's frozen up a little bit. There we go. Let's see if I can get that. They run across from one tower to the other. It's a little, there we go. I think it's working. One across from one tower to the other when we call them back and forth. I just think it's really fun to imagine them navigating their environment in the wild. Just like that. They know it so well because they've crossed it a million times, and they use those whiskers to help them get through. All right, now we're going to move on to our next animal, which I think you can tell what it's going to be. Speaking of hairless tails, opossums have very strange looking tails to some people. They're kind of scaly and a little bit weird looking, but again, it's for a reason, all right? I'm going to show you a couple opossum features before we meet our wonderful Virginia opossum. You notice the tail, of course. It's prehensile, right? They can hold on to things with their tail. They can grip, they can grab. On the left picture there, you see the opossum is actually carrying some leaves. Isn't that cute? He's carrying leaves to make a nest. He or she, not sure, I didn't ask. Look at the feet. Those front feet are incredible. They actually can spread 180 degrees. They spread like flat. Okay, so they can really grip and grab onto stuff. Same for those incredible back feet. Looks like a primate foot, doesn't it? They can really grab on and hold. It's an opposable thumb for all intents and purposes, okay? And again, hairless, because if you had hair all over your feet, you couldn't grab on, could you? Giving them the most unique footprints in North America. No other mammal here has a footprint that looks like this, looks like a primate. See how the front and back are together, okay? And it just looks like a little human hand there. Pretty special. Of course, they do have whiskers as well that are very important to their lives, okay? An opossum doesn't see that well. If you wave something in front of it, it might or might not react, but if you touch the whiskers, they react with a quickness. Now, I know you are very excited to meet with Petey the opossum, and Justine, I'm going to go ahead and highlight her so you can see. Justine is there with Petey, and she's actually going to share some of these hairless features with you.
Hi, everyone. So like Leslie was saying, these guys have some pretty amazing hairless features, and those features just so happen to be some of my favorite things about them. So first, let's talk about the tail. He may or may not do it. Earlier, he wasn't really participating, but sometimes if you run your finger along their tail, they will actually grip onto your finger with it. They actually have friction ridges. He's doing it a little at the tip, see? They actually have friction ridges on their tails, and some of you might be wondering, what is a friction ridge? You guys can actually just look at your hand. Friction ridges are like our handprints and our fingerprints, and it helps them with grip. So he can use that tail when he's climbing to hang on to branches, to carry nesting materials like Leslie mentioned. Anytime he needs an extra hand, he's got one right back here. So another hairless feature would be those cute little hands and feet. Petey here, I'm going to give him a stem of collard, and we'll see if he'll grip onto it and show you guys how he uses those hands. So you guys could see he reached up and grabbed for that food item with his little hands. They will also, just like the rats, when they need to cool down, they will actually lick on these hairless features. So opossums will lick at the base of their tail, and they will also lick at their hands and feet. And this helps cool them down. It helps with evaporative cooling and keeps their body temperature where they want it to be. How cool is that?
Oh, it's so neat. Now, I also want to talk about the hair they do have. Justine, give him a little pet on his back there and show people they have these sort of dark guard hairs on the outside, which do exactly what you might think, guard him. And what they're guarding him from is weather. So if it's raining or misting, the skin won't really get wet because those guard hairs protect that under fur. But if you just can show you the under fur, it's actually really soft and fuzzy. They're actually really soft little animals. Now, believe it or not, that hair is why they are here in Los Angeles. Did you know that opossums are not native to this area, to the West Coast at all? They didn't make it, they're native to the East and South. They didn't make it across the Rockies on their own. We brought them here for fur and for food. Interesting, right? Not native animals. Now that's a big part of why they are illegal to have as pets. They're not native, and there's actually a lot of other reasons why you can't have them as pets, and you shouldn't have them as pets. The wonderful people at the Wetlands and Wildlife Care Center in Huntington Beach rescued Petey, who was being kept as an illegal pet, being fed an improper diet, and Petey was imprinted on humans, so he could never be released again in the wild. Hi guys out there at Wetland and Wildlife, they're amazing. So Petey was able to come here with us to live a happy, healthy life, to teach people about native animals and non-native animals. And today, I hope he helped you learn a little bit more about hair and fur and think about it a little bit differently. Next time you see it, you might think to yourself, what's that hair for? Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at NHMLA_live animals, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks for joining us.